Hi, Mr. Minnick here, helping my Python students with writing if statements, worksheet number 3. Take a quick preview of the exercises on this worksheet. It's a step up from everything we've done on the earlier worksheets. And number 1, it's actually easy, relatively easy, but in numbers 2 and 3, you have to write if statements. And really, you have to write if, else if statements that are quite complicated. But let's do number 1 first. Here we have a good old logic error. Logic errors come up in life, like when you perhaps get on the wrong bus and you go to the wrong school district because you got on the Wilson bus, but you're actually a Y-missing student and you live like right on the borderline between the two school districts and the buses are both yellow. That would be a logic mistake. You still got to school, just the wrong school. Well, look at number 1 here. You're supposed to describe in a short answer what the logic mistake is at the original coder embedded into this one big if statement. True, this is one if statement, but it's got 2 else if clauses and an else clause. So what you do is you plug different numbers in for grade. And in your head, you trace through the code to predict what it does. So for example, Jasmine, who always pays attention in class, what would be a good number to plug in for grade here? I would not plug in the number 1 billion or negative 1 million. That would make no sense as a grade in a normal high school scenario. What would be, by looking at the different boundary cases and edge cases we call them, what would be a good number to plug in for grade to figure out where the logic mistake is? 85, that's a good one. That's one test case. Because 85 should land you a B, and you should end up getting a B. Hey, what's another good test case that you would plug in here, Tiana? 93. Now, she could have said 85, but she's changing it up a little bit in case the computer is prejudiced against the digit 3, but multiples of 5 for some reason work in the behind-the-scenes binary translation of decimal to binary. So plugging in 93 to make sure that the person gets an A when they deserve an A would be a good test case. And what's another one? Lydia, what's another good number that we haven't used yet? Like, don't say 86, because we tried 85, and 86 is so close to 85, it shouldn't really help us analyze this any better than the 85 did. 80, good one. 80 is like a boundary case where it's right on the edge between the 70s and 90s. So I would say that 80 is a good one. Any other ideas? Hands raised. Period 11, 2017-18. Taylor Swift used to go to this school. She might have been in this class. Had she stayed here another year? She left in 8th grade. Who's raising their hand here that might be future president or singer or race car driver? Okay. How about the number 68? 68 would be a good one to test because 68 is below all the other numbers here. And what about 100? Perhaps the number 100 would be good to test because it's sort of so, or 103. No, that's not possible. In most grading scales, a teacher stays between 0 and 100. So 100 would be my upper limit and 0 would be my lower limit. Good luck figuring out what the logic error is, then explaining it in short answers. Number 2, this is the one I wanted to really help people with here. And number 2, you're guaranteed that age is a whole number, and you're supposed to write an if statement that detects one of the following outputs. So let's proceed with that. Well, you have a complicated situation, and in complicated situations, you need if, else if statements. You always start with an if, And if you need them, else ifs can come in the middle, but they have to be perfectly aligned with the I and if. That is, the E and the I have to be lined up perfectly. I don't know if I'll need more elifs, but that E must be lined up with the I. Next, I always require what I call a big fat set of parentheses, because even though they're not required in Python, they're required in other languages that I often teach or that you learn in college, Java and C++. And in Python, you need colons at the end of if and elif. So see these colons? You need them down here as well in number 2. Now, I still don't know what I need to put in as a control expression. Let's read the question and interpret it. The question says, if age greater than 2. That means you need a greater than symbol. And that 2, of course, goes to the right of that greater than symbol. And the variable named age would go to the left. So instead of the variable named grade up here, we are using a variable named age. And that's that. Oh, it says and less than 6. So we need the word and because that works in Python. And we need less than 6. This, folks, is a wrong answer. While it makes sense to a human, if age greater than 2 and less than 6, to Python and the computer, you must repeat the variable name age there. You must repeat that. And that's just the way it has to be. And what are you supposed to do if the variable age is greater than 2 and less than 6? Oh, I put the then stuff over here. You're supposed to print using the print command that phrase, you can ride a tricycle. I don't have time to do that in this video, especially with the mouse that I'm using, but here you would just fill in you can ride a tricycle, and that should be filled in there. There must be mice in my room because I hear talking when I thought I was the only one talking in this room. Well, number 2, you must fill in for me the print statement that goes in the second elif area, and maybe you need another elif. Now, there are those people that would put the third part of this indented print in an else. But then you can't do something like else something bad happened, like you're an alien and you don't have age because you live infinitely or something like that. You never know when an alien might come and run your Python program. So don't think that everybody has an age or 2 arms and 2 eyeballs and hair. Some people don't have hair, like Mr. Yoder. He doesn't have hair, so even non-aliens might not always follow all the else ifs. So always put an else there if you want to be super safe. But in this exercise, you don't need it. But if you put it, you need else, then you need to print something like contact the programmer. Okay, moving on then with number 3. I'm not going to do all of number 2 for you. Number 3, now if you remember geometry, you know there are these things called triangles, and there are different kinds of triangles, equilateral, isosceles, and there's something like every triangle is a rectangle, but not every rectangle is a triangle. There's something quadrilateral or something like that. Every polygon, every n-sided figure is a polygon, but not every n-sided figure is a... I studied this in college, believe it or not, but I'm forgetting it because now I am a computer. I only follow the order of operations. Well, in number 3, I teach this in my... I explain this a little bit in my lecture notes. But if you don't do these 3 prints in the right order, you could get a logic error like number 1 if you're not careful. And you might need to use ands and ors to group your to make more complicated control expressions. You will need an if, and you may need elifs. You may need an else, or maybe you add it for good style. Okay, good luck with number 3, but be sure to read my lecture notes or just think about it with the knowledge that you have in other subjects, along with computer science. Have a great day. Good luck on this worksheet.